it's persistence, not perfection. And that is something that I'm truly taking to heart this year. I've always believed in persistence, not perfection when it comes to work, especially because I've grown up in the tech side of the world, cloud computing, automation, where we are all used to MVPs going out, and that whole concept of perfection is broken. But in my personal life still, I've tried to be a perfect daughter, a perfect wife, a perfect mother.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha at peopleHum.
peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view, integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Codie Award that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month.
We have with us today Rashim Mogha, the Executive VP and General Manager at Skillsoft. Rashim is passionate about creating business value by empowering and enabling leaders. She also believes that today's world is driven by change and transformation, and the need to adapt to these changing times is a critical aspect of professional and personal development. Her ability to drive and execute business strategies has helped her customers adapt to this changing environment and has helped her drive success for businesses with multi-billion-dollar revenue. In her career as a global leader, she has inspired teams to dream big, innovate, learn how to find solutions, and create and execute their plans. She firmly believes in the power of positive leadership and the impact that it has on individuals and team success. She has successfully leveraged mindfulness, networking, mentorship, and sponsorship to build high-performing, diverse teams from scratch. She is recognized under the 100 Keynote Speakers of 2019 title by DataBird Research Journal, Top 20 Thought Leaders in Cloud by Thinkers 360, received the Global Technology Leadership Award 2020 by Women Tech Global, won the Women of the Year 2019 Award, Women of Influence Award in 2019. She was also the Game Changer 2019 Award recipient. Rashim is known for her #1 Amazon bestseller, Fast Track Your Leadership Career, and is listed under the top 30 spectacular books by women for women leaders list. So we're so thrilled to be speaking to somebody so accomplished and so passionate about what she does. So welcome to peopleHum, Rashim. It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking with you today.
Thank you, Neha. And wow, that was a long introduction.
Yes. Thanks a lot. So jumping right into the interview, can you tell us about what your role entails as Executive VP and General Manager at Skillsoft?
Absolutely. So as the General Manager for Leadership and Business segment at Skillsoft, I am basically for the product strategy, the innovation that happens in our leadership and business solutions, and how to take those solutions to our customers. At Skillsoft, we truly believe in helping organizations, enabling organizations to build their workforce for future, to help people unleash their edge. And that's what my role focuses on, to build innovative products and to bring them to market for our customers so that they can unleash the edge of their workforce.
That sounds very, very interesting. You've been vocal about the importance of adapting to these changing times in order to be successful at work. So as per your expertise, what do you think we can expect from the new post-pandemic workplace?
So, 2020 has really fast-tracked. I don't want to say change because the change was long overdue. It was coming. We were seeing it. It has fast-tracked how we work, how we learn, how we engage socially, how we sell. It has changed the whole concept of how the workforce is and how workplace is now. So just to give you an example, I don't think you and I would be doing the same job that we do today and having the same responsibilities 5 years from now. I don't even think some of the jobs that exist today are going to exist 5 years from now. 65% of the elementary kids who are going to school right now will have jobs that don't even have names right now. Can you imagine like what that environment, what that workplace will look like. And then look at today's workplace. Organizations expect everybody in an in that in their workforce to actually be leaders, whether they have a leadership title or not. And there is data that proves that 50% of the leaders actually fail, that are new to the job, fail in the first year. And that causes a revenue loss as high as 8%. That's a big number. So, as organizations think about getting their workforce future ready, they have to think about how they're going to make sure that the workforce has a growth mindset, that the workforce is agile and nimble, and they build in that culture of continuous learning, because that is so important. The people need to upskill and reskill themselves continuously for jobs of future. So if in a nutshell, if you look at it from the workplace point of view, we're looking at everybody being a leader, we're looking at jobs changing rapidly, we're looking at building that culture of continuous learning, building that culture of resilience and agility. And uh, you know that's why upskilling and reskilling becomes so important, and that's why this role at Skillsoft that I hold becomes so important, right? So that's where the play is going to happen. That's where empowerment and enablement is going to happen.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, since we're already talking about post-pandemic workplace, so many people have learned the power of reskilling and upskilling during the pandemic. So that's definitely something that when you shift and put into the workplace, that's always evolving and that will always be required. Even if it's just been accelerated by the pandemic, I feel like that's a constant that's not going to change.
That's not going to change. And the sooner we get used to upskilling ourselves, learning something new every day, the better it is for us, right? 2020 was all about persistence. It was not about being perfect. It was about being persistent.
Yes.
And that's why the theme this year for our EVA 2020 Virtual Summit, and for those who don't know, I run an initiative called Empowered Women of the World, and we have a summit coming up on April 24th, 2021, and our theme is persistence. And we didn't want to make it, Neha, as a one-day event, right? And where people come, they learn from the speakers, they go away, and then some of them carry what they learned, the others leave it behind. So what we did was we actually expanded all the sessions to 6 months free access to everybody after the summit as well. And then Skillsoft came in and said, we want to provide everybody who is attending the summit 6 months free access to the leadership and technology courses. So imagine you get an opportunity to attend the summit on day one, um, look at job opportunities that are provided by companies like Roku and Facebook, apply for those job opportunities, and then move on to learning skills for 6 months. And that builds that culture of continuous learning, that builds that culture of persistence, that builds resilience. And that's what the workplaces need right now.
Absolutely. And the work that you're doing sounds so interesting, and it's such good work because that is definitely the need of the hour. So thanks a lot for that.
Every little step counts in the right direction, right? The goal with EVA was definitely to make this world an equal place for everybody.
Absolutely.
And we are getting there with our audienceship for our EVA podcast in 47 countries, with the summit that we are doing, with the events that we have, and also with companies like Facebook and Roku showing their confidence in the platform and actually coming into the summit with the goal of hiring women leaders from the summit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very interesting. So, moving on to the next question. While ideation is a crucial part of any process, it is also the execution that needs to be looked after well. So, you've often emphasized the importance of positive leadership. What advice would you give to leaders who aspire to build high performing teams?
I think the most important thing is that you have to give your team the psychological safety of failing fast, right?
Right.
You have to you have to think about how you're going to build a growth mindset, a culture of growth mindset within your team. When you provide your team that psychological safety of failing fast, an opportunity to try out new things, they think out of the box. I've always encouraged my teams to think out of the box. I give them a scenario and I say, assume that there are no constraints. Go ahead and design a solution that will work for everybody in the world. And you will be amazed at the solutions the teams come up with. See, constraints can always be removed. There can always be ways that you can figure out as a leader to remove constraints. But if you work within those boundaries, if you work within those constraints, you'll never able to come up with a new solution.
Absolutely.
And that's what is important. And when you do that, the team is automatically bought into the idea of the execution piece as well, right? Because they're bought into the strategy, they're bought into the execution piece. And then you templatize it. It's important for me. Processes are not that important, but templatization is. You need to figure out a way to operationalize it, because otherwise your team will start becoming complacent, and then they will not have opportunities, and they will not think about, because they'll not have the mind space to think creatively. And really, to be innovative, to be able to execute on a strategy, it's best to templatize it, let people take it forward, and then have your team focus again on creating new solutions.
That is definitely some very, very valuable advice. And I feel like that was a very nuanced answer, because you've worked in the industry for such a long time. And something that sounds so simple, when you come to think of it, we are aiming for something really big, but then you break it down into smaller pieces, and that's how you go, like, step into execution. So that's
and then to top it, you build that culture of continuous learning. So you're providing your team with the right kind of skills that they need, and then you're giving them that freedom to try out new solutions.
Absolutely.
And that's the best that you can do as a leader, because you are giving your team an opportunity to grow by giving them that opportunity to grow. You actually give them wings. You give your team that freedom to figure out the path that works for them, as opposed to you designing a path for them. And early on, when I just started my leadership career, it was all about how do I safeguard my team? How do I share all my experiences with them so that they don't fail? As I grew in my leadership career, I realized that it's important for people to fail. And as a leader, you need to create that safe space for them so that they feel that it's okay to fail. It's not, because there's so much that you learn from your failures, much more than you learn from your successes. I have learned so much more from my failures than from my successes. And while some experiences you can share with your team and provide those guardrails, for some other experiences, you have to let them fail.
Absolutely. And I feel like any organization that has leaders such as you who understand that and, put in a lot of efforts to create an environment where their teams and employees can function this way, I'm sure that organization is bound to thrive. So thanks a lot, because we have a lot of listeners listening and watching today, and I'm sure they must be taking notes right now. So thanks a lot for that. That was wonderful. Moving on, you were ranked the #1 best-selling author of Fast Track Your Leadership Career. Can you tell us a bit about the book and the ideologies that it entails?
So, Neha, I moved to US 15 years ago, and almost 16 years ago now. And when I moved over here, I had my own share of failures. I was passed over for promotion. My ideas were stolen. I had the seat at the table, but never had the voice. Um, and uh, and during that time, I tapped into a lot of leadership books. I learned from my mistakes. I learned from my experiences, and I put together a template that worked for me to help me be successful. And then it was in in 2016, 2017 that I really started sharing my learnings. And as I would go and speak at conferences about my struggles and my template for being successful, I realized that my story was resonating with so many other women leaders. It was in May of 2018. I remember I had just delivered a session called Fast Track Your Leadership Career at Women Transforming Technology, which is an initiative that's led by Stanford University and VMware. And as I walked down the stage after delivering my session, there was a group of women leaders who came to me and said, "That was some really valuable information. Do you have a book around this?" And I said, "No, not yet, but I'll have one soon." And then I went back home and I frenetically called a few of my friends saying, "Well, like I said over there that I'll have a book soon. I have to figure out how to do a book." And so they connected with me with my publisher. And luckily enough, this is not my first book. This is my first leadership book, but I've written 4 or 5 technology books before. So I knew the process. Within 3 months, September of 2018, we actually launched my book, Fast Track Your Leadership Career, which within 11 hours was an Amazon bestseller.
Wow, that's commendable.
And when that happened, I did not know what had hit me, because if that was big, what hit me and what was going to happen after that was even bigger. People started writing emails to me saying, first of all, why did you say that this book is just for women? Because it's not just for women. We are men, we are non-binary people, and we still find value in this book. And second, how do we take this conversation forward?
Wow.
And that's how EVA was born, the Empowered Women of the World Initiative. We started it off just with the podcast, and we are about 2.5 years old now, and we have audience in about 47 countries through our podcast. This is a third virtual summit that we are going to do this year, and we have, last year we had participation from across the globe. There were people in India and in Australia who were up past midnight to attend this summit.
Wow.
And this year, for the first time, we are introducing EVA Virtual Awards. And the awards are aimed at helping women self-nominating themselves for awards, which builds their confidence, which helps them build their personal brand. And most importantly, it helps them inspire other women leaders. So definitely, that's a story in itself.
That's definitely a book that's on my reading list already. And it's wonderful to see how, women come forward in the field and stand for what is theirs. Because you mentioned that when you started out, you saw a lot of things that were not very pleasant. But then the fact that you're here and talking to us today is so inspiring. And I feel like what's even more commendable is you also helped other women to just hop onto the bandwagon, and you've helped them, you've shaped them become who they are today. So I feel like that must be a wonderful feeling. And we're so glad that we got to talk to you today.
When I used to go to conferences early on in my career, Neha, I would go and there would be leaders on the stage and they would say, I've been lucky enough. I've never faced bias in my life, or I had some great mentors, but I really didn't see that side of the world. And slowly I realized that was not true, right? So the key thing for me was to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to be able to show people that it happens to everybody. It still happens to me sometimes, but how you handle it, and the fact that you're open about it, it has nothing to do with you. It's not about something being wrong with you. It's the bias that exists.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to acknowledge that.
And I feel like there's a different kind of power that comes with accepting things as they are and then working towards sorting them out. So yeah, like you mentioned, that's definitely very, very essential. And coming on to the last question for today, do you have a quote that best describes your feelings towards the future of work, workplace, and you?
I have a new one. I used to have a different one, but this year I have a new one. It's persistence not perfection. And that is something that I'm truly taking to heart this year. I've always believed in persistence, not perfection when it comes to work, especially because I've grown up in the tech side of the world, cloud computing, automation, where we are all used to MVPs going out, and that whole concept of perfection is broken. But in my personal life, still, I've tried to be, a perfect daughter, a perfect wife, a perfect mother, and I have now realized that it's okay to be not perfect, right?
Yes.
It's okay if kids get cereal for breakfast one day in the morning, and that's fine, right? It's okay if I don't have everything sorted out, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's wonderful advice that I'm sure that our viewers and listeners will keep inside their heart for a very, very long time. So it was wonderful talking to you, Rashim. You've given us a lot to think about, and we're so glad that you could take out the time to talk to us today. Thanks a lot for being on People Hum.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be on the show today.
Thank you.